Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Advanced Nutrition in Public Health. My name is Abigail Clark. I am your TA and also a registered dietitian by profession. Now, for the past few weeks during this course, we have journeyed through several topics. We began by looking at the current 2015 dietary guidelines, the food guides, uncovering the truth about nutrition facts labels and dietary supplements. We continue our journey by examining nutrition related problems that are both common in children, adolescents, and the elderly. Today, we're going to discuss a very popular but highly misunderstood topic. In fact, my favorite topic, and that is obesity. In this video, we're just going to be looking at one tiny aspect of this vast topic, which is the gut microbiome and its impact on obesity. After this video, I want you to go to Canvas and engage in a discussion in the comment that you can see right now. State your views, your opinions, and respond to at least 3 of your classmates' posts. I cannot wait to read the stimulating discussion that we will have. First, let's begin with our objectives. We're going to define what is obesity, state the impact of obesity on society, examine the association between obesity, the gut microbiota, and identify one mechanism in which the gut microbiota influences energy expenditure in the body. What is obesity? The World Health Organization defines obesity as excess adipose tissue. The BMI is a crude method of determining obesity. BMI is calculated by dividing weight by height in meters squared. Let's do some practice in calculating the BMI for the two individuals. The first person has a height of 1.62 meters and a weight of 75 kgs, and the second person has a height of 1.68 meters and a weight of 90 kgs. You should have gotten 28.6 for your first individual, and this will classify them as overweight, and 31.8 kgs per meter squared for the second individual, which would have classified them as obese. Individuals with a BMI of 13 over are classified as obese, while those with a BMI of between 25 and 29.9 are classified as overweight. Obesity is a major public health burden which affects both high and low income countries. The burden of obesity in society has both fatal and non-fatal outcomes, increasing the risk for diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, stroke, and some cancers. In 2015, a total of 603 million adults were estimated to be obese. Since 1980, the prevalence of obesity has doubled in more than 70 countries and continues to be on a rise in many other countries. A high BMI has accounted for 4.0 million deaths globally, and more than 2/3 of the deaths related to high BMI was due to cardiovascular disease. Obesity is indeed a public health problem. But what is the primary cause of obesity? Well, one of the primary determinants of obesity is energy imbalance between the number of calories consumed and the number of calories burned. In other words, what we eat and how we burn what we eat. This seems pretty simple. However, this is a complex mechanism between genes and environmental factors such as food intake and physical activity. However, in recent times, studies have indicated that the gut microbiota may impact energy balance. What is the gut microbiota, and what is the big deal about it? Our intestines are made up, within our intestine, there are thousands of tiny little creatures that live, which make up the gut microbiome. I like to call them the U.S. Army of our body. These creatures are essential in maintaining the intestinal epithelial barrier, offering protection against pathogenic bacterial invasion, or, as I like to call it, pathogenic bacterial terrorism. They are also essential in the metabolism of indigestible polysaccharides and the absorption of short-chain fatty acids. These bacteria comprised of a colony of over 500 to 1,000 species of bacteria, begins to form from birth and continues to change rapidly during the first 3 years of life. Our gut microbiome stabilizes during adulthood, only changing if there's administration of antibiotics or if we change our diet. So what's the association between the gut microbiome and obesity? Well, with most things in science, studies on the gut microbiome and obesity began in the 1980s in animals. Scientists discovered that germ-free rodents, needed higher intake of food to maintain their body weight when compared to conventional ones. They also had less fat mass than conventional ones. Even when germ-free rodents were fed a high-fat, high-sugar diet, they were resistant to obesity. They had higher insulin sensitivity and glucose tolerance. This is something a lot of us would really want. The obese mice had larger proportions of firmicutes and lower proportion of bacterolytes. A similar observation was seen among obese adults. Obese individuals had a higher concentration of firmicutes and a lower concentration of bacteroidetes. When these individuals went on a weight loss diet, they discovered that there was an increase in bacteroidetes and a decrease in firmicutes. The impact of diet on the gut microbiome was also seen among children. When the researchers compared the gut microbiome of children with a high fiber diet to those consuming a high sugar, high fat diet, they found that those on a high fiber diet had a greater prevalence of bacteroidetes and a lower prevalence of firmicutes. The opposite was seen among children with the high fat, high sugar diet. So let's get a little bit more insight on the mechanisms or the possible mechanisms associated with this trend. We established before that the gut bacteria is also responsible for the metabolism of undigested carbohydrates to produce short-chain fatty acids. These include acetate, butyrate, and propionate. Butyrate is an important energy source for the colonocyte or the intestinal cells, while propionate and acetate are rapidly absorbed and act as energy substrates for the liver. While the exact mechanism is still being debated, it is believed that some of these short-chain fatty acids are released into circulation and cause a number of metabolic effects. As you would have recalled in your nutrition and metabolism classes and your advanced metabolism class, the activation of AMP, which is the activation protein kinase in the liver and muscle, then triggers the activation of the perisome proliferator activator receptor gamma, thus stimulating the uptake of glucose and the oxidation of fatty acids. This therefore improves glycemic control. It is believed that if there's some bacteria in the gut that suppresses this mechanism and then is associated with increased weight gain, while there's other bacteria in the gut that activates this mechanism and which promotes weight loss. While the mechanism by which the gut microbiome works is still being determined, scientific evidence is pointing that the foods we eat can influence our microbiome and therefore impact our weight. So, the next time you put a piece of bread, some fries, an apple, or anything else that you decide to eat, take a minute and think about how that food will impact your bacteria in your gut. Perhaps after all, as John Wooden said, it is the little details that are vital, the little things that make big things happen. From our readings, we have discovered it is the little bacteria in our gut, the little bacteria that can make big changes. Thank you and see you in the online classroom.